Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 10 of The Flash called Revenge of the Rogues. And I gotta say, this was another really fun episode of the show. Sadly, there was some stuff going on in my house during the episode, so I wasn't able to give it 100% of my attention, but I still really enjoyed the heck out of this episode. It was quite a lot of fun. So let's just kind of get right down to things. First of all, I'm a little weirded out by the title of this episode because the Rogues, they're not looking for revenge. Captain Cold just flat out spells it out. We're going to go and take out the Flash because he's the only guy in the world who could possibly stop us from doing whatever we wanted. You know, I mean, you can't help but look at this like, dude, you've got these cool guns and all this like crazy technology. You're a criminal mastermind. Why not just like go and become the Emperor of Australia or something like that? You know what I mean. And points to you if you understand the reference to Superman 2 there. So, but yeah, that getting rid of the one guy in the world before you go out and start taking whatever you want, the one guy in the world who can stop you before you go and start taking whatever you want. Yeah, that's not the worst decision in the world. And as we do see by the end of this episode, it's actually getting caught is even part of Snart's master plan. So let's just start by talking about Captain Cold and Heatwave. So it is very interesting to see these two guys bounce off of each other. I mean, Mick is this insane pyromaniac with poor impulse control, while Captain Cold is quite literally his opposite. Everything he does is part of a plan. He's always thinking, and he doesn't really show his emotions very much. But that's kind of one of the things. And I mean, these guys are, not to put too fine a point on it, but exact opposites. And the whole painting they steal being named Ice and Fire. I mean, not exactly subtle, but subtlety is not a strong point in superhero storytelling. So, yeah. But, just those little moments with them bouncing off of each other, like, Heatwave acknowledging that Cold making him learn the details of every part of his gun being a good idea, to Snart telling him, buckle your seatbelt. And then, of course, these guys being rogues, they get into arguments with each other, and it comes this close to them trying to kill each other, because that's how it works in the Rogues. When they're fully assembled, Captain Cold is the leader of the Rogues, and they do abide by his rules and orders. But, they're not a military unit. They're basically a bunch of assholes whose only friends are each other, but they're also major selfish jerks who needs some restraint. And again, that's kind of Captain Cold's main job, is to basically keep the Rogues focused on what they're trying to do and to keep them from killing each other. I mean, that's part of what makes the Rogues such a fun bunch, is that basically the vast majority of the Flash's Rogues gallery are banded together in a central organization and are often working together. And that's kind of one of the things that makes him very different from other superheroes. This isn't really true for Spider-Man or Superman or Batman. I mean, yes, sometimes their enemies will team up, like, you have like the Sinister Six or the Superman Revenge Squad. But, one cop in the Flash comics even basically sort of looked at the Rogues and said, oh my god, here in this town the villains are unionized. And that's actually a surprisingly accurate take on the whole situation. And then at the very end of the episode, we see that Snart and Mick are rescued by Leonard's sister, who was mentioned in the previous episode. And if you pay really careful attention, you can see there's a brief shot of her hands holding some fancy high-tech gun. So it's safe to say that she's probably going to be a technology-using villain like her brother and Mick. Now in the comics, Glider, that's her villain name, proper name of course being Lisa Snart, she does have powers. She's basically can become intangible, a little bit like Shadowcat from the X-Men. And she can also fly, if I remember right. So anyway, we haven't. It'll be a little while before we've seen her, but they've cast the lady from the Tomorrow People to be her. So, Prison Break reunion, Tomorrow People reunion, people from Spartacus. Arrow knows how to pick people from genre shows. Now, other stuff involving the Rogues this episode. First of all, it's really awesome to see Captain Cold call the Flash the Scarlet Speedster. That's sort of one of his main nicknames in the comics. Like Batman is the Dark Knight, Superman is the Man of Steel, and all that other stuff. And then he even publicly identifies himself as Cold. I mean, he doesn't call himself Captain Cold because, that would be just too cheesy. But safe to say that Cisco's name for him will probably catch on the internet. I just imagine Cisco, when he gets a downtime, going into the comment sections of YouTube or whatever, and was like, we should call this guy Captain Cold instead of Cold, because that totally seems like the sort of thing that Cisco would do. And let's see. Okay. You know what? We'll save the talking about the fight itself for a little later. Let's kind of move on and talk about the other characters. So, continuing along with our theme of bad guys, again, more stuff with Harrison Wells, and I love how I was hearing that recently in an interview. Tom Cavanaugh says that one of the things he's doing with Harrison Wells as an actor is pretty much every time Harrison Wells talks, he kind of puts it out there so it sort of like implies that there's a double meaning to everything he's saying. Which again fits. I mean, that whole "I hope you won't think of me as an enemy," and just in the wake of everything that's going on with Barry getting beaten by the Reverse Flash. I mean, Harrison Wells is having a field day with the whole "let's manipulate Barry Allen" department. He's really talked Barry into throwing himself into this training, and even convinces him to not go out and track down Heatwave and Captain Cold, sort of making the classic argument, if it wasn't for Batman, maybe guys like the Joker and the Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze wouldn't be running around causing trouble in Gotham City. And this episode kind of illustrates why that's kind of a BS argument. Yeah, they might not be the exact same characters and things might not be as theatrical, but Snart and Rory would still be out there being bad guys, causing trouble, probably killing people. I mean, again, it would basically be perhaps a little more toned down, but these guys wouldn't just vanish off the face of the earth. They wouldn't just say, like, the Flash isn't around, or there's no superheroes around. I guess I'm going to go, I'm going to go back to college and get my degree, kind of see if I can get that assistant manager's job down at the Office Max. That's not happening with these guys. But I did like that bit where it looks like, Barry might get killed by that missile, and just for a second, Harrison Wells almost puts his foot on the ground, like he's ready to blow his cover, expose himself as Reverse Flash, if it means saving Barry. And it's just like, why? Why in the name of God is Barry Allen's life so damn important to you? Now, I have my theories about this, but I'm not going to blather on about this here, because there are plenty of other people who've put out their own theories. But what's really great about it is that Grant Gustin has even said on social media, like, I've been reading all these fan theories about what they think is going on with Harrison Wells and all this other stuff, and no one has guessed it yet. And given that Jeff Johns, one of the guys responsible for really returning Barry Allen to the comics, is one of the main guys behind the show, I got the feeling they probably do have one hell of a twist packed away, because Jeff Johns is, in my book, one of the best guys in comics these days. So let's see. I kind of think that covers everything we need to say about the bad guys. Although I do have to say that part at the where they say, like, we have to have them cross the screens, and then they immediately acknowledge this as being like Ghostbusters. That was great. I just love, like, Barry, Joe, and Harrison all talking. No, Cisco and them. Cisco, Joe and Harrison, if I remember, like all like, yeah, Ghostbusters was a great movie. And I just love it. Like, at some point, the Reverse Flash, took time out of his day to sit down and watch Ghostbusters. Part of the fact is that Ghostbusters has been one of my favorite movies ever since I was a kid. I absolutely love Ghostbusters. It's ridiculous. I mean, I literally have an autographed picture of the cast that I used to have up in my bedroom. It's down now because I'm actually getting ready to move, but that's how much Ghostbusters means to me. But anyway, let's kind of move on and let's talk about our other Star Labs folks. Again, nothing particularly big to say about Cisco this episode, although once again he does get the honor of slapping the Reverse Flash name on our villain, and of course we get that nice moment of Harrison Wells going like, yeah, Reverse Flash, I like that. Caitlin, of course, is the unfortunate victim of the kidnapping here, and she does have that nice moment where she basically says, to Heatwave, do whatever you want with me, just don't hurt the Flash, which, I mean, that's just such an old school damsel in distress thing. It's a little disappointing that this is kind of the role that Caitlin has to fill this episode. But, Caitlin's got guts, but she's not in any way, shape, or form really prepared to physically stand up to people like Cold and Heatwave. Although you do have to wonder if perhaps, Captain Cold's gun might in some way be the door that opens to her becoming more like her counterpart in the comics, who was the cold-wielding villain Killer Frost. So it would be really kind of an interesting twist if Captain Cold were inadvertently in some way to cause Caitlin to gain powers. But I have the feeling that they're going to be keeping Caitlin on the good guy's side for the extended time. I don't think she's going to be turning bad anytime soon. And, I do like the idea of, taking somebody who in the comics is a villain and treating them as a hero and ally. Just because, hey, alternate realities, right? But, that doesn't mean that things can't change in Season 2, for example. Which, yeah, indeed, Flash has been renewed. So let's see. Of course, we also get to see things going forward with Caitlin's investigation into what's going on with the whole Ronnie thing. Barry helps her figure out that Firestorm is this ridiculously long acronym, but it gets to the heart of what Firestorm's powers are, is that he can transmute things. And they do a reasonably good job of explaining exactly what that is. We also get to see a picture of Martin Stein, a very key character in the Firestorm mythos, and we're introduced to the character of Jason Rush. Again, another, basically, Ronnie Raymond, Martin Stein, and Jason Rush are the three most important people in the story of Firestorm. And just when Rush mentions like some military guys came and took away all our stuff, well, the first person that jumps to mind would be Wade Eiling. So you have to wonder if maybe we won't get to see Clancy Brown again at some point. And of course, if you're familiar with how Firestorm as a character works, you maybe even have an idea of what happened to Martin Stein. But anyway, that's stuff we'll have to save for a later time. Let's see. Now, moving on to talk about Eddie. Eddie doesn't get a huge amount of this episode. I guess the whole, saving him from the Reverse Flash was kind of enough to cancel out that whole almost beating me to death for no reason thing. Because, he steps in here and helps save the Flash's life, and he, by the end of the episode, seems to be, like most of the cops in Central City, they're like, yeah, okay, the Flash is a hero. And that's, again, kind of very reminiscent of how things work in the DC universe, where law enforcement authorities, generally speaking, tend to cooperate and be friendly with, superheroes. And the Flash is, of course, one of the major examples of that. In the comics, he ultimately gets a museum dedicated to him, just out of gratitude for all the things that he's done for the people of the city over the years. He has a very good relationship with the police there. I remember even in the comics, it was even mentioned one time that Superman had been granted like a special deputy status in terms of from the Metropolis Police. So Superman actually did have legal authority to go out and do those things that he did, which again I always thought was a really great touch. But anyway, let's see. So again, that was sort of a nice thing for Eddie, showing that he is willing to put the past behind him. Of course, if things go badly, the idea of Eddie being friends with the Flash, or at least positive towards him after doing an about face, yikes, that could be pretty bad. We also get to see that really great scene between Barry and Iris, and Iris was very much on the back burner this episode. But again, this wasn't really your story. But that bit with Barry's like, I can see the future, and you and I, we're gonna get we're gonna get past this weirdness between us. We're going to stay friends, and yes, the dynamic between us is going to change a little bit, but the bond that we have, this is not going to destroy it. And that was really very nice and very touching, and just another really great moment for Grant Gustin to go out there and sort of stab you in the feels. And of course he goes and does it again pretty quickly after that, with him moving back in with Joe, and the two of them sort of bantering back and forth between each other. I mean, it's just like, man, you guys are great. I'd want to hang out with you in real life. I mean, that's just really the mark of good writing and good acting there. We also briefly are introduced to the Mr. and Mrs. Rathaway, who, of course, people from the comics will realize are the parents of Hartley Rathaway, character we're going to be meeting next episode. Now, I hope you guys all took note of that whole thing where the Asian butler guy comes and says, like, we got another message from your son. And the guy quickly says, like, we don't have a son. Yeah, you're gonna almost certainly gonna get an explanation of what's going on there next episode. And I gotta say, I'm really excited about that. The preview for next episode looked really cool. So let's see, what else? Okay, I think we've covered everything that's going on in terms of the characters. Now I got to talk about my main thing that really kind of didn't work for me in this episode, and it's that fight between the Flash and the Rogues. Now, on one level, this is very cool. Now it is known around the world, thanks to the modern technology, that a superhuman exists, and there are supervillains running around Central City in the good old United States. America is #1 in serial killers. It would make sense that if there were superpowers in the world, we would probably be #1 in supervillains as well. But anyway, one, how in the world do the police, how in the world did Captain Cold and Heatwave even get there? I mean, seriously. The police just cordon things off. It's like, yeah, let's let these two maniacs go in there and fight, cause all this trouble. I mean, yes, they have a hostage and all that, but come on. Why in the name of... Basically, it isn't really the question. Also, the bigger question is, why in the name of God were Snart and Rory not gunned down by police snipers before this thing even happened? I mean, seriously, if you stop and think about the tactics that the police and Barry use in this episode, I mean, it's almost laughable that this fight even happened. And that's kind of one of the problems with the Flash, is that he's so damn fast. The idea of anybody who doesn't also have super speed being able to fight him in any real way is kind of realistically, it's ridiculous. But this is a comic book show, so if you don't have these things like this, then where the hell is the fun in anything? I mean, if it was all about, Captain Cold and Heatwave were standing in the streets and like, yeah, let's fight Flash, and then Flash runs up behind them at like 300 miles an hour and punches them in the back of the head 5 times, or just runs up behind them and like, hey, I got your guns. Okay, officers, come on in and take these guys to jail. Well, again, yeah, maybe that's more real how things would realistically go, but is it fun? No. So, let's see. Anything else? Nope. I think that kind of covers everything I had to say about this episode. Again, fun episode. Lots of cool stuff going on. Really nice setup for seeing more of the Rogues. Oh yeah, I did also want to say, I forgot, there was that one really nice moment with Cisco where he's demonstrating the technology at the police station. The one cop goes, hey, you guys nuked the city. Why should we trust you? And Cisco owns up to it. It's like, yeah, we screwed up, but we still want to try and help. We want to make up for what we did. And that was a nice moment for him. But at this point, Cisco really is overdue for an episode that focuses in on him. From what I've heard from the official episode descriptions that have been released, it looks like we're going to kind of get the lens pointed at him fairly soon. But I got to say, more spotlight on Cisco, definitely something that's been overdue. So anyway, guys, as always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.